Oh, where am I? Oh my God. Coming to you from a secret, undisclosed location in historic downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, way out on the east coast of North America, way out of the range of all them hurricanes, comes to you in the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, Wallace Ryan. Where is he? Oh, here he is. Okay. You notice that I changed the spread here on my couch. You know, mess it up a bit. Anyways, oh, before we do anything, let's spin that spinner rack. The cosmic spinner rack. Okay. Let's get back to reality and let's get down to work. Okay, folks, only got a couple of books here this week, but I actually I threw in a few graphic novels to chat about with once I go through all the unwrapping all the new stuff. So let's get right down to it. Take off the glasses and let's start out with, for you Marvel Masterworks fans out there, comes Volume 20 of The Fantastic Four. I mean, who doesn't love The Fantastic Four? I know I did. Oh, I do. Being a Fantastic Four fan, God, since the 70s anyway. I can remember reading it in the 60s. I wasn't as big a fan then. But when I sort of was reintroduced to it later in the 70s, actually I think I came on when, a little bit before this book actually, when George Perez was on it. And you know, well, I liked it and then started going back. Plus I was reading the Marvel's Greatest Comics, which are at the time was the reprint version of Fantastic Four. So I kind of fell in love with it there. And of course, once I fell in love with Kirby, then I had to go back and find all of them. These, most of these I had actually as a kid too. This book contains mainly the work of, Bill Sienkiewicz, way to go Bill, John Byrne, a couple of John Byrnes, Joe Sinnott, Al Milgrom, George Perez, the annual, and Tom Sutton on the annual. I know it sounds like a weird combination, and it is with Tom Sutton, but hey, I always kind of liked his stuff anyway. So yeah, this was just before. This is slightly before Byrne took over. I mean, he had a couple of runs on Fantastic Four, and he was inked by not Byrne, talking about Byrne, Sinnott. But later on, of course, he became. Well, he did a lot of his own inking, I guess, later on. Terry Austin, did he do any of them? No, I'm thinking X-Men anyway. But anyway, so between, you know, the end of his run with Sinnott, and there's a little bit of him and Sinnott in this one too, and his big 60 something issue run, maybe even more on it. So this is more or less where it almost began. It's almost there. It's just another issue or two, and we're done. But yeah, like I said, I loved the Fantastic Four. This was sort of a slightly slow period for them. I mean, I love Sienkiewicz, but I mean, in this he's inked by Joe Sinnott, which to me really does kind of take the Sienkiewicz out of Sienkiewicz. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I mean, I didn't mind it, but you know, definitely wasn't my favorite. And then actually I do 220. This is the first. I do believe this is the first Byrne one actually wrote. Now this was before he started the epic run on it, but it was the start. So yeah. So for any of you who are huge fans of the Fantastic Four or John Byrne or Bill Sienkiewicz, pick up this. And also, of course, in this there's the annual with artwork from the great George Perez. So all in all, not a bad little book. Let's have a look at it here now. I'll give you a quick. I can actually remember, because I was a huge fan actually of John Byrne at the time, and so I mean I was kind of a bit disappointed when it looked like. Oh, hang on a second here. Well, I was wondering why it wasn't as lit as usual. One of my lamps seems to be a little bit oh well, a little bit wobbly there. Anyway, so this is where Sienkiewicz started his run, and I mean it's good, but it's almost more like the Adams than Sienkiewicz. And here is that Byrne story there. Some more Byrne, and then I do believe we get back into the Sienkiewicz around here. And this is the annual. And this is the annual, I do believe, yeah, Sienkiewicz. Was it? No, this isn't the annual. What am I saying? Well, yeah, like I say, Sienkiewicz, no, not too bad, I guess. But of course, one of the things I like the best in this, like I say, is the Perez. The Perez annual. Pretty cool. I love that reverse effect there. There we go. And Bill Sienkiewicz and Joe Sim. Like I say, just didn't seem to work well together in my mind. Anyway. And right through to the end. And a few like added little features there in the end, of course, to entertain you. So, that was book number 1 from this week. Ta-ta, ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Now, let's put the dust jacket back on. Now, of course, comes the piece de la resistance for this week. This is, of course, what you've all been waiting for, I know. This is the absolute edition of Killing Joke. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if any of you have seen the animated movie there. Was it a year or so ago that came out with the animated Killing Joke? And I mean the part that is the real Killing Joke part of it was good, but they tacked on this chapter at the start of it with Batman and him being involved with Batgirl, and which just goes totally against everything that us Batman fans know to be true about the Batman universe, and it kind of ruined it. I mean, I can even remember watching it and waiting and thinking to myself, when is this torture going to end? When are we going to get right to the Killing Joke part of it? And there is a distinct point in which that sort of sappy extra story ends and they get into the Killing Joke, which is kind of cool, but it's, like I say, the animated movie, not that great. So you can't give that a pass and not worry. Now let's see. Oh, first of all, I love the cover, and of course the back cover. There's the top. There's the spine. Love the spine. And there's the bottom. Now let's see if we can actually get this out of its. Whew. And this is kind of cool because he has the two different angles there, not seen before. This is the Killing Joke is probably one of the more disturbing Batman stories, I gotta say. It didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out. So when like I say, compared to other ones and all that, it's just not. It's not for kids. Let's just put it that way. Now, of course, The Killing Joke is is a fairly short book, and you're saying to yourself, Wallace, how can that have been made into a absolute edition? Well, similarly done, except for one big book. This has actually the two versions. The one version that was colored by John Higgins, I do believe. Let's double check here. John Higgins, yeah, and the other one by Brian Bolland. So it's kind of cool just to see the two, just to compare them side by each, looking at the way it was colored in the original, and then looking at the way it was colored later on by Bolland himself. I don't know if I have any preference. Both of them are both pretty cool looking. But in some ways the Higgins one, I don't know, it's still pretty good, but I don't know, I like both versions. So I'll give you a flip through this, and this of course has the script here. I love reading Alan Moore's scripts. Unlike anyone else out there, his scripts are just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, here, this is page 1 of his script. And that's just a description of what is going on in the panel. I'll give you an example. Here's how he starts this one. Well, I checked the landing gear, fastened my seatbelt, swallowed my cigar in a single gulp, and ground my scotch and soda out in the ashtray provided. So I suppose we're all set for takeoff. It's like he's talking to you in this, talking with his partner while he's in the script. But when you read the scripts, actually, compared to any other author I've seen, Moore breaks down the panel down to the slightest detail. And I'm sure for some people, you know, that's not bad. They don't mind that, but because it makes it easy if you're an artist, because all the work has been done for you in a lot of ways, as opposed to sometimes when you get a script, there's a lot of leeway in terms of which way you want to go or what you want to do. And so, like I say, it's good in one way, it's not so good in other ways, but it's like I say, this is a great little book, and I do believe this even has the origin of the Joker. Oh yeah, and a couple of covers here, and then I always love all these extras thrown into the back. So let's have a quick look at it here. Anyway, I love the end papers. Beautifully done here. Here's the Higgins one. I say very defined, but now this is that was the first one was the Bolland one. Here's the Higgins one. Of course, you can see how this one really trades a lot on the same concepts that you see in his coloring for The Watchmen, as a matter of fact. The coloring definitely has a very Watchmen-like feel to it. And then here's the script. And let's zip through the script here, because we're not going to read this. And yeah, this is from Batman Black and White. This was a little origin of the Joker thing, and how that's been colored. And then there's a few extras thrown in for a good measure. So, nicely done, DC. Once again, you knocked it out of the park. They just do such amazing. They have such amazingly high production values and standards for all the books they do. They just, I mean, look at this. You just want to, you want to take a bite out of it. It looks so good. Oh, gotta calm down. I was getting comicked out there. Okay. Next here from, what's the name of this company here? Pegasus Books, distributed by W. Norton, from Nikolavitch, Gervasio, Aon and Lee comes H.P. Lovecraft, he who wrote in the darkness. So, so this appears to be basically a biography of Lovecraft himself. So, I mean, for any of you Cthulhu fans in there, it's kind of the thing to pick up. I like it because there's, you know, a fair amount of it is actually set in Brooklyn. Oh, as a matter of fact, in Red Hook, Brooklyn, where I myself actually lived for a while. So there's a little bit of a connection there. But yeah, I like the look of it. It's the drawing style is really cool. I'd say overall a nice little piece. And just even what I looked through there today, I just sort of scanned through and gave it. A lot of times I can tell even just by scanning and looking over 2 or 3 pages of a graphic novel or even a comic, I can tell whether or not it's going to be good or not, just because I recognize good chops when it comes to comics almost intuitively. So so yeah, this one's pretty cool. So I will recommend this one. Take a few quick, nice sort of palette to the whole thing. Yeah, I like that. I like it, I like it, I like it. Lately I have been collecting a lot more graphic novel memoirs and biographies too, to fill out the library bits. So check this one out, folks. It looks like it's a good one. Now let's see. Oh yeah, and the last of the new books, at least for this week, is RX, a graphic memoir. Excuse me. This is a graphic novel about a woman in their early 20s, diagnosed with bipolar disorder, as it says on the back here. And this is just her journey through her mental illness, and I guess out the other side. Of course, we've gone through some similar sort of things. I thought this would be pretty fascinating, and even just when I read it today, there's a quote here, as a matter of fact. I love this. You won't know the shape of your own unraveling until it happens. And trust me, for those out there who've dealt with various issues like this, you know exactly what she's talking about. But anyway, I kind of like the style. It's a very cartoony style, but even what I just read, just looking at it, it looks really cool. So I'm going to have to recommend this to everyone out there. Let's have a look here. So yeah. So I encourage everyone out there. Rachel Lindsay's RX, a graphic memoir. So let's have a quick look here. Really neat, energetic style. Black and white, of course. Who doesn't like a good black and white comic? I was talking to some students at Memorial University for my friend Nancy Petrie's class, and they even asked me about the black and white, because they looked at my artwork and they noticed that, you know, you do a lot of black and white, and they were curious and all that, and I just kind of like black and white. Anyway, oh, according to my watch, which doesn't exist, we're getting close to the end, so let's I was going to actually show you a few, seeing how we ended off at graphic novels. I was just going to preview a couple of graphic novels here and see what you think. And these are a couple of my all-time favorite graphic novels. Of course, Mouse. Who doesn't love Mouse? It's one of these fabulous, fabulous books that everyone has to have in their collection. This started so much, this really did start a lot of the revolution having to do with graphic novels and the like. That book and this book, Will Eisner, Contract with God. Of course, this is not the original one, but this is still a really nice printing of it. I kind of like the original one, which they had it printed in the sepia ink here. So this is kind of different from what it originally looked like. But yeah, an amazing little book, A Contract with God, and you should definitely check it out if you can. Let's see, okay, here, last but not least, well, two more last but not leasts. Asterios Polyp. I can't say enough about this. I was a big fan of Dave Mazzucchelli after his great work on Year One and all that with the Batman, but this book is just goes in an entirely different direction from what we're used to seeing from Dave Mazzucchelli, and I highly, highly recommend you pick this up. This really changed the way I looked at a whole new, different approach to comics. Very well done there, Dave. Check it out. And let's see. Oh, okay. This one, Tony Sandoval, Doom Boy. This, I gotta say, was one of the coolest books that I'd read in a long time. It's funny, when I read this too, I thought right away this would actually make an amazing film. Doom Boy. Highly, highly recommend it. The artwork is pretty cool, but the story itself is just absolutely mind-boggling. So I recommend that you run down to your local store right now and pick this little baby up. Okay. Oh, well, a little sip of tea to put an end to all this. Nothing like some tea, is there? And we'll see you all next week. Shout out to all you folks down there on the east coast of the United States with the hurricane barreling down on you. I wish you all the best of luck, especially all you comic book collectors. I hope you have your books stuffed away or hidden or in boxes, or so that they don't get soaked by that darn tornado. Anyway, best of luck to all of you down there. We're all praying for you. And in that case, it's time for me to move along. There you go. In the meantime, I'll keep on reading, and I'll see you in the Library of Graphic Literature. Oh my God! Look at the size of that boom tube! Oh, okay. Love you guys. See ya. Whoa!